Hi, friends. Welcome to the Mastermind Moments podcast.
Hosted by your pals, Josh and Sasha.
Join us during our weekly mastermind as we collaborate on how to make the most out of our lives.
Not only are we going to mastermind our careers, we're going to work on all areas of life together.
Let's do it. Listen in as we make the most of our mastermind moments.
Hi.
Hi.
Okay, people. Welcome to the first episode of Mastermind Moments. Hello.
Hi. Welcome.
Welcome. You're here with Sasha and Josh, besties from across
Besties for 15 years, 16 years.
Crazy. And basically, Josh was on an episode of my podcast in March, and everyone really loved hearing us shoot the shit, basically. So we decided to get together and we wanted to do mastermind calls where we got together and masterminded our life. And I find that mastermind calls are typically just career focused, but that's not all that life has to offer. So we're sitting here, we're going to mastermind together, and we just figured might as well record our calls and see if anybody wants to listen to us shoot the shit and mastermind our lives together. So
Exactly. That's ultimately the basis of our friendship, isn't it? I mean, our friendship is basically voice notes going back and forward to each other, discussing different areas of our life. If we've got something good that's just happened, then we send a voice message to each other. If we've got something bad that's going on, then we send a voice message to each other. And we just decided, why not turn that into a kind of podcast form? And because obviously everyone would love to hear what we have to say.
Oh, yeah.
And the insight that we have in our conversations, because there is a lot of insight in our conversations. We have some really insightful moments, and it's a good idea to share the wisdom that we share with each other with the rest of the world.
I think so. There are definitely quotes in our voice messages that belong on t-shirts for sure. So it'd be good to actually have recordings of it. And also, that's the basis of our friendship from how we met. We met at a Tony Robbins event when, I don't remember what age I met you. Must have been like 14 or 15, but we met at a Tony Robbins event. And the whole basis of our friendship is built around helping each other really deep dive into some really deep stuff and like work through a lot of things that we're going through in life. Doesn't matter what it is, but that's the basis of how we know each other too. It's literally the only context we have for this friendship, which is crazy to me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think it's, well, coming from the background that we did and the background we met in, I think our friendship was always destined to be the way that it was in terms of that kind of deep connection and deep conversations. Because, I mean, think of some of our other friends, and I can't think of one where I don't have a similar kind of connection with, where we have these incredibly deep conversations. And I'll go months without talking to some of these people, and then we reconnect, and it's just like we just have the deepest conversations. We've been speaking for the last 6 months. We're fully on top of each other's lives. And even when we met these people, having that initial deep connection, and I would have known someone for a week or spent a maximum of a week, 2 weeks with them, and we have these incredibly deep connections and know the deepest, darkest secrets about each other.
Oh, yeah. And it's like really helpful when you're talking to a friend who is not immediately in the center of your world, because they can see it from an external perspective and be like, what are you doing? Are you okay? Like this thing doesn't seem healthy for you, or this thing seems amazing for you. And having that exterior perspective is very helpful. I just went to go visit one of our friends to the Tony Robbins environment, and it was like dropping into this environment and watching her life happen and being like, oh my God, dude, like this environment is really unhealthy for you, but this relationship is really amazing for you. And being able to drop in and be fucking honest about what's happening is the most amazing thing ever. So here we are.
Here we are.
Airing out everything for everybody. So basically, the basis of this podcast is a mastermind where we're going to go through and essentially mastermind different areas of our life, but we're basing it around the wheel of life, which we've decided to create our own. And the sections we've decided on in this wheel of life, you can picture like a pizza or like a pie, and each slice is a different area. So the areas we have are fun, spirituality, physical health, mental health, finances, career, family love, romantic love, social life, personal growth and creativity, contribution, and physical environment. Now, I know a lot of these sections are like kind of vague, and I know there's a lot of them, but these are the different areas of life that like make up an entire life. And in life, sometimes some areas are going really well and other ones need more support and love. And we're here. We're going to be able to mastermind like where we need support, encouraging each other in areas that are going great. And I'm excited. I'm really excited.
Yeah, me too. The way I like to think about the wheel of life is that when you mentioned think of it as a pizza or a pie, I like to think of it as a wheel. And each of these components make up different parts of the wheel, right? And if you score each of the areas of your life out of 10, and if any of those are out of whack, so let's say everything is a solid 8, so you've got almost a perfect wheel, but then your finances are a 3, that wheel's not going to go around smoothly, is it? And so your life is not going to run smoothly if something is out of whack. And so I think it really helps to, I like to do this maybe once a month, once every couple of weeks, whenever I'm feeling just out of shape, not in a good place mentally, physically, spiritually. I redo my wheel and I think about what areas are not making the wheel and my life run smoothly and how can I work on those. And I find that when I actually draw it out and write it out and go through all of these areas and think, okay, what would make this a 10? How can I get this to the next level? You're effectively drawing up a blueprint as to how you can have a really beautiful, successful, smooth running life. And I think it's an incredible tool to use.
Amazing. So, in light of that, our first segment on this show is called Spin a Wheel. We have a winner. Love, what are your top tips for maintaining a healthy and fulfilling romantic relationship? So, what are your tips, Josh, for maintaining a healthy and fulfilling romantic relationship?
That's a very interesting question at the moment because I've just got into a new relationship literally a month ago now. I've been seeing this girl for, well, almost a year, but we only made it official a month ago. And to be honest, I think it really depends on what the other person's love language is and playing into that. So, for example, the biggest thing for me is words of affirmation. So, words are a huge thing for me. And if I'm seeing someone, if I'm in any kind of relationship, but obviously in this case, a loving relationship, but if I'm in any kind of relationship where they're not communicating with me as efficiently as they can, and it sounds a bit petty, but even if they're a bad texter, I really struggle with that as well, especially in a romantic relationship, then it just doesn't work for me. And that's something that is working really well for me in my current relationship is that she's a very good texter. She is very good at communicating with me. And if we ever have a problem, she communicates that with me and we talk it through and we iron it out. And then it doesn't become a problem anymore and we work on it together. Her top love language is gifts, right? So if, again, we have a fallout, she will buy me a gift. She'll show up at my door with a bunch of flowers. If there's anything successful that
She's
I've
showing
done.
up at your door with a bunch of flowers?
Yeah.
I love it.
Well, it goes both ways. It goes both ways. But what I'm saying is the way that she showed this as her love language, we never spoke about this, but I've identified it is because every single time anything would happen, any success, any negative thing, she would buy a gift for me. And so I thought, okay, well, clearly that is her love language, right?
Right.
And so I've tagged onto that and obviously used that to my advantage or to her advantage, of course, as well. Which means that actually we are really bouncing off each other. We both know what makes each other tick. And that's really working for us at the moment really well.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. I've been with Pauly D for 6.5 years at this point. My tips for maintaining a healthy and fulfilling relationship, there are so many, but yours is excellent. Like knowing each other's love languages and being able to lean on those when you need them. They're like, what are your top languages? And I'm like, I love all of them. I love everything. It depends on the day. Sometimes I need more words. Sometimes I need more time. It just depends. For me, I'd say my top tip for sure is like learning how to fight. When you fight and you go in and you blow up at somebody and you call them names and you like scream and yell and there's a big fight, it's not productive. Nothing is coming out of that as opposed to sitting down. And I don't know if have you ever read Nonviolent Communication?
I haven't, no.
Okay. Nonviolent Communication is a book I highly suggest. It's by Marshall B. Rosenberg. And essentially, it's learning how to fight. So instead of going in and yelling and screaming and calling names and just being an asshole, going in and saying, hey, this thing happened. It really hurt my feelings because XYZ. I know that probably wasn't your intention, but that's how it made me feel. Next time, could we XYZ? And just like learning how to fight. So just like coming to the person and saying point blank, like something happened, it upset me, and I'd really like to act differently next time within the relationship, and seeing how they react. It's and seeing if they can go along with that. It's like learning how to fight in a way that the fights are bringing you together as opposed to pulling you apart, because it can be a slippery slope when you're getting heated. The arguments, it's like a lot.
Of course. That's very interesting. I would never have thought of that. Literally never have thought of that. Wouldn't even cross my mind. Learning how to fight. It's, I mean, touching back on that, I guess it relates to, you know, how words is a huge thing for me and how communication is so important in a relationship. You know, if we do have any arguments, and of course, you know, I say we've only been official for a month, but we have been dating for almost a year. So there have been arguments. And I think something that we've been really good at is using those to, instead of get angry with each other and throw books at each other, we've been using that to actually communicate and come up with a solution. And that's something that she's very good at. And I think because she's so cooperative and communicative with that, it rubs off on me too. And therefore the arguments never last. They never last because we jump on the phone call, or we go and get dinner, and we talk it out, and we iron it out, and it becomes absolutely fine, because then we work on it in the future. We know what needs to change, and it just works out for the best for the long run.
Oh, I totally agree. And I think it doesn't even just apply to your romantic relationships too. Like you could definitely apply this to family relationships, to friend relationships, like learning how to actively communicate what's upsetting you and learning how to actively overcome some sort of argument or some sort of disagreement in a productive way, as opposed to like letting resentment build and blowing up. It's much better to just clearly state, like an adult, like, hey, this is upsetting me. Can we figure something out?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's really important. So yeah, well, I've just learned something.
Amazing. I love it. I love it. So, getting into the main spiel of the episode, let's mastermind. What's going on? So, what are 1 to 2 areas of life in the wheel of life that are going really great for you right now? And what are 1 to 2 areas of life that are not going so great right now? Let's chat through it. What are you thinking? What's up? We haven't had a chat in a while.
We actually haven't. So this is perfect timing, isn't it?
Yeah,
To
yeah.
start the first episode. I think for me, the main area that isn't really ticking at the moment is career. Work is very important to me, of course, as it is to anyone, because it's what you're going to spend most of your day doing, depending on what you're doing. I have been in real estate since I left school, pretty much. And as I've bounced around quite a lot in terms of
Yeah.
jobs and in terms of businesses, and I've tried a lot of different things.
Yeah, you're always on some sort of new gig.
Always. But I've been in this job for about a year now, and I'm getting restless. I'm getting the feeling that it's just not working. It's not going so well at the moment. I work in sales, and it's just very stressful. Very stressful. There's a huge amount of pressure on me because they hired me to take on the the 2 biggest clients that they've ever had.
Right.
And there's a huge amount of pressure to make it work. So it's very stressful. And I'm considering, to be honest, I know you're not going to like to hear this, a pretty major career change to basically completely leave real estate, completely leave sales behind, because I think I've identified now that sales is what is causing the discomfort. Because there is always huge pressure. There is always huge stress. And I've been doing it for, I don't know, about 8 years now, since I left school. And I just feel like it's that stress and that constant pressure that is dragging me down. And if I didn't have that element of stress, if I was doing something that I genuinely enjoyed and felt rewarded by, because at the moment I have the financial reward, but I don't have the emotional reward. And I think that's what I'm craving, and that's what I've been craving for the last however many years. So I'm considering a change to something that I've been thinking about for a good few years now. But the thing that's been holding me back is the fact that I didn't go to university. And now I'm considering potentially going to university and actually pursuing this path, which is...
Talking forever.
I know. Well, this, to be fair, this is a development that's happened in the last 2 weeks, but
Okay, okay.
I'm considering completely changing path and becoming a elementary school teacher.
Wait, what?
I've told so many people that and they've had exactly the same reaction.
An elementary, this was literally, if you could have said anything and I would have been like, an elementary school teacher is like the last thing I would have expected. I'm shocked. I'm shocked. Okay.
Yeah, I've always thought, I've considered it for a long time because I'm great with kids. Great with kids of a certain age. I couldn't deal with teenagers. I could not deal with teenagers. So that's why elementary school, we call it primary school. I'm assuming it's the same thing, like up
Yeah, you
to
can call
maybe
it
11 years
primary.
old.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm good with kids. What I crave as well at the moment is holidays, vacation. You know how much I love traveling. I'm a huge traveler. At the moment, I'm just being held back because I can only take a certain amount of vacation a year. And with becoming a teacher, I have the school holidays. I have the school holidays, so I can take the whole of the summer off and go traveling. I can take the various different school holidays off throughout the year. And that's another big appeal to me. There's just so much pulling me towards it. And it will be a long path to make it happen. So, of course, I have to be 100% sure.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a long process to brainstorm and actually make sure that it is the right thing.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I mean, that was exactly what I was going to say is I can understand why sales seems like isn't feeling like a right fit because sales is very tough on the body. It's really hard. It's a lot of adrenaline. It's a lot of your entire success is based on if someone, you know, obviously makes a purchase or makes a sale. And when you're doing real estate, it's a huge purchase to make. And I really understand sales is very tough on the body and you can do it, but it's really easy to get burnt out, especially when things are not going great. The elementary school thing, it's just so out of left field based on how I know you that I'm like, it's very strange. I really think you should sit down and write down about what's important to you because it's very clear that the time off is important to you or flexibility with your location. Because what if you work remotely somewhere and you're able to travel and work from anywhere? That's an option too. If it's just travel, if it's just like vacation, it might not be elementary school teachers. I'm in contact with my teacher from high school and they can't take off days during the year. They can only take off like 2. I don't know if the system is different in the UK, but you can only take off a couple days during the year. Let's say someone gets married, or let's say your friends are going on a trip and you can't take that little long weekender in the middle of whatever. I'd say sit down and write down in your dream job, not necessarily elementary school teacher or real estate or whatever, what is a priority to you? Because it's very clearly ability to travel and ability to take time off. Also, I don't know if it's the same in the UK, but teachers get paid shit here in the US. If finances are important to you and being a baller is important to you, being a teacher probably isn't going to get you there, you know?
Yeah, no, and that's something I've considered. I mean, I know what's important to me, and I think it would help to sit down and write it because, of course, putting things down on paper is always really beneficial, just to get it out of your head and to actually have it there visible to your eyes and to your brain. It does make a big difference. So I definitely need to do that. Financial wise, it's funny that you mentioned that because that actually brings me on to the other thing that's not really ticking at the moment for me,
Okay.
which is finances. As I've just bought an apartment a couple of months ago, moved in, all sorts of problems as you would expect with a new apartment.
Yeah.
A great example that I just wasn't expecting, completely unexpected out of nowhere. I got home and my flatmate, I'm renting out the other 2 rooms in the apartment, was home drawing with chalks on the carpet. And I got back and I was like, oh, that's going to come out the carpet, right? And she was like, yeah, don't worry. I walk into the living room, the lounge area the next morning, and the carpet's like multicolored. It's gone from like a white carpet to a multicolored carpet, which is not what it's meant to be. And I had to spend money today on getting that fixed. So it's unforeseen things like that. I was also slapped with a huge tax bill because my old company didn't pay enough tax 5 years ago. So 5 years later, they've come to sting me with that. So
Oh, no.
financial wise, I'm struggling at the moment. And that is something that's really important for me. And at the same time, as I mentioned, work is not going so well. It's not so successful. It's a very difficult time for the real estate industry in the UK. I don't know about the US at the moment. But yeah, so as a result, my finances are really suffering. And that, I think, goes hand in hand with work.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think if I can find something that, A, I enjoy more, So that means my career focus will increase or will improve, but also that can pay me slightly better with a consistent income where I'm not so reliant on commission from sales,
Right.
which elementary school teaching is not very well paid here, but at least it has a much better base salary than what I'm making now. So actually, I think in the long run, it's probably for the best. I think financially, it probably will benefit me.
I mean, it's interesting. I'd say like as far as the career goes, this is your Sasha homework for next week for the next Mastermind Moments podcast is sit down and make a list of what's important to you in your next job. If you had a dream career, what is that going to look like? What's important to you? How much are you making? Like, where are you? Like, what kind of things are you doing? Who are you helping? What's your team look like? Just get really clear on what it is you want, because going from like real estate sales to like elementary school teaching is a very big path. And I think elementary school teaching, it just doesn't, for me, like, because I know you, it just doesn't, I'm like not clicking it in my head at the moment. Like, it doesn't really sound something you would do. And it could be, very well could be. Who knows? It might be a perfect fit for you. But in my head, I think it's just such a far jump. And have you talked to any elementary school teachers?
Yeah, I've spoken to a few. Obviously, I know quite a few people who are in teaching, not necessarily elementary, but I know quite a few high school teachers, kindergarten teachers as well, who love their job. And they say it's not as easy as it looks. Of course, it's a very stressful, very time-inducing job as well.
Yeah.
It takes up a lot of time with lesson prep and everything. My aunt was an elementary school teacher before she became a stay-at-home mum. And yeah, she says she loved it. She said it's the best job in the world, it's very rewarding. And that's what I want, is that emotional reward. As I say, it's something I've been considering for years, just very quietly. That's why you're so surprised to hear it now.
So
But
it's the last thing I was expecting to come out of your mouth. I mean, you've definitely talked to people about it. I'd say if there's an opportunity for you to go and volunteer with, I mean, I know we used to volunteer with teenagers. It's very different at the Tony Robbins camp. But if there's an opportunity for you to volunteer at an after school program just to get a taste of what it's like, that might be a really helpful thing for you to understand and discover. So I'd say definitely make a list of everything that's important to you in your next job and your next career move. Because it might not be elementary school teacher. It might be something like if travel is super important to you, it might look like a remote job or a job that involves a lot of travel where you can go and talk to people all over the world and see the world. It might look like something like that. Or it might look like teaching for the UK and like going and teaching in Thailand for a year. It could be a million different things. There's so many different opportunities for what you could do if you want something emotionally rewarding. I don't know if you guys have, I think it's called like Teach for America or something, but I know someone who would go into like Thailand or Vietnam and teach English in schools and volunteer, and their room and board is covered and they can travel. There are opportunities like that as well. So you don't necessarily have to pigeonhole yourself in something. I'd say just get clear on what's important to you in this stage of life, and then we can brainstorm what that looks like. And also I would look at opportunities for you to volunteer with kids around the age you're thinking of, if that's an after school program or I don't know, like a young football league, like for young kids, like reffing or something, just getting involved with kids that age, just a taste of what it's like to deal with the parents and deal with actual kids that age. I think it might be a really good step to see what you're thinking, because it makes sense. You haven't been happy in this job, but you are the type to like hop around, and elementary school teachers getting started in that, you're not able to hop around once you get in there. You're in it because it takes you to go back to school. You have to get educated. You have to do the whole thing. So it might just be better to not do it, but get clear on what you want first, because you have to be 100% sure this is what you want before you go into to elementary school teacher. So next week, let's chat about your list that you come up with.
No, definitely. I definitely need to go away, write a list. I think, I mean, it's a huge change. It's a huge change, and it is a long-term commitment. And as you say, I jump around a lot, so I can't leave my current career behind, which is I've built up a very successful, very good resume in sales and in real estate. If I then leave that behind and go away for 3-4 years to study, I can't halfway through that say, oh no, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
Because that would put me in trouble financially, in terms of student debts, but also I'd be back to square one and stuck a little bit. So I just need to make sure that if I'm going to make such a big commitment as my next step, it has to be the right thing.
Exactly.
So I'm going to go away, Write a list. I'll bring it next time, and we can go through that.
Yeah, we can go through it and we can brainstorm next week when you figure out what it is that's important to you, because it might be a twist on that. There is a million different opportunities for working with teaching, and I know you want something emotionally rewarding. There's so many different opportunities. I don't think it has to look like just one thing. So, yeah, but let's move on to the finances part. I know you have so many expenses that just got piled onto you all at once, and that's intense. That's a lot. Do you have a plan to pay off all these expenses? Do you have that plan in motion? How's that going?
Yeah, so I've got what I've been doing is very carefully budgeting. So I'm very good at budgeting. I've figured out a formula as to something that works for me, whereby I take my expected paycheck, roughly what it's going to be for the month, and then I take away all of my expenses for that month that I know are going to come out, and then I divide the remainder by the amount of days there are in a month. And obviously that's the amount that I can spend each month. So there's the fixed expenditures each month. I
Right.
take those away from my salary and then figure out how much I have to spend each day. And I'm just very careful on that at the moment. And it means that I have to live very frugally. If I go out, I can't be having 10 pints of beer. I mean, I wouldn't do that before.
Right.
I'm not drinking at the moment anyway. But yeah, it means that I just have to be very careful with what I spend every day. And so I do have a plan in motion for that, and it is working at the moment. It's tough to stick to it because I'm so used to, before I was living in this apartment, also I was living at home with my mum, and I didn't have all of these crazy expenditures. So I didn't have to budget so carefully, and it's taking some adjusting to. I was going from living a crazy life, partying all the time, traveling all the time, to I can't really do that so much. I can probably travel maybe a couple of times a year at the moment with my current budget. So yeah, no, I got a plan in place. In the next few months, it will start to improve as long as I stick to the budgeting system that I've got. So yeah, it will improve. It's just going to take a bit of time.
Yeah, that's the thing, is as long as you have the plan and you're sticking to the plan, I mean, it just takes patience, really. Patience and perseverance, which is what everything in life takes, basically. But once you have the plan set in place and you're carefully budgeting, and if you stick to this current plan, how long is it going to take you to pay everything off?
About 4 or 5 months,
Oh,
maybe.
you're fine. You're chilling. And it's also a really good opportunity for you to figure out, for example, with the partying and the social life, like how can you do it in a way that's frugal and fun? Instead of going out for dinner with your friends, does it look like going out for an evening walk? Does it look like going out for a run? What kind of free activities can you get yourself into, or super cheap activities can you get yourself into to not let your social life die because or not let your fun life or your social life die because you're on a budget. Like, you can still have fun on a budget, and we can get creative about that too. But as long as you have the plan set in place, you're chilling. It's just taking patience. But in the meantime, you don't want your other areas of life to suffer because you have to be frugal.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think, again, that kind of leads me on to what's going well at the moment for me is that I am having fun and my social life is still thriving, even though I'm having to live frugally. I have a group of friends who are young like me, and so they're not necessarily in the greatest financial position, a lot of them. And so everyone is happy to do fun things that don't involve spending too much money. So I've just joined a new gym, which is costing me a lot of money every month, but I'm spending a lot of time there. So I've joined with a friend, and instead of going out drinking or partying, which would have cost a lot of money, instead, most days of the week, I'm now going to the gym with my friend. I'm playing tennis at the gym. I'm going swimming with him, obviously going to the gym itself. And while it's costing me a lot of money per month, actually the savings over the course of a month in going to the gym instead of going out doing other things that cost more money, it's actually
Yeah,
saving me money. But as a result, I'm keeping that fun going. I'm keeping the social life going. And so those two areas of my life, as they have been for quite a long time now, are still thriving. I found a way around that. And so, yeah, it's definitely not suffering. And it doesn't have to. Of course, it doesn't have
exactly.
to.
Exactly. And it's honestly, going to the gym and investing in a gym is an investment in your physical health. So it's not necessarily, yes, and it's an expense, but it's also an investment in your physical health, which is something that you've been wanting to prioritize for a long time. So it's amazing that you're actually getting to the gym. And I'm sure you have guest passes. I'm sure you can bring friends to the gym and,
Exactly.
do all that. So that's great that you have another option for how you can socialize outside of going and drinking or going and partying or paying for dinners or whatever. There are definitely cost-effective ways to have fun. And it's awesome that you're exploring that too. And There are definitely ways to cut corners with finances too. I mean, I know I don't think you ever did this, but people will go and buy coffee like 3 times a week. I don't know about in London, but in Miami, it's stupid expensive to buy coffee. I'm not using the word expensive anymore. I'm using the word luxury, but I think it's overpriced or overvalued or whatever. Like, I just refuse to use the word expensive. So I'm going to rephrase that. Basically, it's like a very luxury thing to go and buy your coffee 3, 4 times a week. It's like $7 or something, as opposed to like making it at home. Or there's all these small fixes you can do that add up big time, you
Yeah.
know? And also like alcohol too. It really helps to not have to do that. So, I mean, you seem like you have a plan in place for the finances and it's going to be paid off within the next 4 or 5 months anyway. I think you're cool. You're chilling. It's a good thing, but that's also something to consider too with your career is how much do you want to be making? Does it look like something with side hustles? Does it look like one job where you're balling? That's something to consider as well, because I know that financial success is important to you. It's not everything, but it's important to you. It's one aspect of your wheel of life. And I don't know. It's something that's important. I don't know. Teaching, we'll have to see. It might look like teaching and other things. Like, I might have to look like side hustles with teaching or something. So I don't know, but it's something to really think about.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think as we discussed just now, I do have a plan in place. And in the next 4 or 5 months, I'll be in still a difficult position because I've still got to pay the bills and everything, which I didn't have to do before, but in a much healthier place financially,
Yeah.
which will make my life much easier. I think in terms of, I mean, you mentioned about how the gym is not just an investment it is an investment in physical health. It's also an investment in fun at the moment. It's also an investment in my social life. And so it's a good investment ultimately. And I think there's
Yeah.
plenty of ways around it, because I think initially when I joined the gym and I was spending a lot of money, I've never spent that much money on a gym before. I was a little bit bummed out about it. I was a little bit worried that I was spending that much money and it's only really an investment in my physical health. And I wasn't investing in that before anyway. So why do I need to do that? I can just go running instead of joining a gym.
Right.
But actually, it's really interesting. I hadn't really thought of it like that, as in it genuinely is an investment in the fun side of things, physical side of things, social side of things. You can make a case for lots of different areas, actually, even potentially kind of personal growth as well, because mentally it's really beneficial.
Yeah.
Mental health. So yeah, no, I think it's something I hadn't really thought about before. So that's very interesting.
Yeah. It's a big, and I think people say, oh, I don't want to do this because it's really overvalued luxury. They don't want to spend the money on a gym, or a trainer or a meal plan or something to get yourself back in shape, or even if it means like going and buying the organic food versus the not organic food. But at the same time, you vote with your dollar, you show your values with your dollar. And if you're investing in yourself and you're investing in your health, wow, I love to rhyme. When you're investing in yourself, you're investing in your health, baby. That's what we're all about. So, I mean, it's really important. And I think it shows your subconscious too, when you're really putting value and money into something, that's what you're going to get out of it. So investing in a good quality gym where you can do everything, the swimming, the tennis, the weightlifting, I don't know if they have saunas and shit like that, but taking advantage of that and, being able to use that as part of your fun, being able to use that as your mental health, it bleeds into all areas of life. Like, at the end of the day, your physical health, I think, is probably the most important thing, but it depends.
Well, your whole big thing with me has always been, if I message you and say I'm not feeling so good at the moment or life's not going so well, the first question you always ask me is, have you moved your body recently? Have you been moving? And most of the time, in fact, all of the time, most of the time I was trying to get away with it there. All of the time, the answer is no, because, and I don't even think about it. I never even think, but actually I've been going to the gym consistently. I joined the gym 1st of June, so it's been over a month now. I've been working out 6 days a week, every single week without fail.
Yeah.
Not just weights. I've been doing cardio, swimming, tennis. I've been doing some form of exercise 6 times a week since then. And I feel great. I feel fantastic.
Oh.
Generally speaking, there are issues that crop up in my mental health every now and then, but I just go for a run or I'll just go to the gym and let it all out. And I feel fantastic after it. So I've always understood when you say, have you moved your body? But I think I understand it on another level now. considering how fit I am at the moment and how much I've been moving, it really makes such a huge difference.
It makes a huge difference. And I find that when people are upset about something, the first thing, a lot of times we go and we try to overanalyze everything, which I'm guilty of. I do it all the time. But it's, have you taken care of your baseline needs? Are you moving your body? Are you sleeping well? Are you hydrated? Are you taking care of your mind? Are you meditating? Are you taking a break? Are you resting? Are we taking care of our baseline needs as a human being to take care of our body and our vessel? Because if we're not taking care of our body, it bleeds into everything else. And then the rest of life is shit, basically. So
Yeah.
yeah,
No,
amazing.
absolutely. And on that note, I mean, what your side of things? How are things going for you?
Okay, so for me right now, what's going well? What's going well? I'd say, which is a big shift because I went through a really big challenge. I'm not going to get into the details. I've been going through a really big challenging time with my partner and my romantic relationship, and things are going well finally. We've really started prioritizing spending time with one another and really working through our shit. We were going through a really difficult time for 9 months, and now we're spending allocated time every week to like sit down and work through our stuff. We just spent a long weekend together with quality time. It was so sweet. He planned out a surprise trip to Key West for 4 days, and he planned the entire thing. I had no idea where we were going until the night before. He rented a Porsche for us to drive there, and he booked the hotel, he booked the activities, he booked everything. And I just showed up and made the playlist, and that was it. And it was just so much fun. And just to spend quality time together and to really sit down and work through what we're going through has been awesome. Obviously, we still have shit to work through, but it's an area that's going well right now because we're putting so much energy and love into getting through our stuff. And it takes work. Relationships, from the beginning of the episode, relationships take a lot of work, and it's something that adds so much to your life, but you have to really put in energy and hard work to make it work. And the hard work is fun, but it's also sometimes you have to sit down and talk about what you're going through in a really healthy way instead of letting things fester over time. So we had to put a lot of shit on pause for a long time, but now we're finally going through our stuff and it feels really good. But on the
Out
flip
of
side,
interest.
yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, just out of interest, how, because I know he's been putting a lot of effort into that quality time side of things lately. I mean, how highly does that rank to you in terms of love languages? Is quality time one of your top? Is it important to you?
Yeah, quality time is probably top. Probably top. I'd say top one. I mean, they rotate for me, like quality time, physical touch, words of affirmation always rotate top 3, depending on what's needed. But I'd say, yeah, quality time is really important. And he's been really prioritizing. Paul works really hard. He works these insane hours, really intense hours, like 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. most days with a 1 hour break or something. It's insane. But he's really been prioritizing quality time together, especially with that long weekend, and just making sure that he gives me 40 minutes to an hour every day. And then on the weekends, he's been really good about, no, this is our time. And he shut off from work completely. He did not check his email maybe once while we were away. It's been awesome. But yeah, the quality time has been really important, and sitting down, taking the quality time to spend fun time together in addition to spending quality time sitting down and working through our shit is both are really important. And he's been prioritizing that, and I've been prioritizing that, and it's been feeling really good to actively work on our relationship after 9 months of really tough times. So,
And you're seeing a drastic improvement in the relationship as a result.
yeah, big drastic improvements. Things have just been feeling so good for the last however long, and things were rough for a long while. So it's been feeling really good. And there's still going to be a lot of stuff we have to work through, but at least we have like a container once a week where we sit down and we figure our shit out. So it's been feeling really good. So that's an area that's going really well. On the flip side, the other area that's not going great right now is I'd say my social life, family life at the same time, but more social life. I've had this, okay, we haven't talked about this, but I've been wanting to talk to you about this. I've been having this realization that I'm typically the person in my life, in my relationships, that I initiate and I put way more effort into the relationship than the other person. And that's really apparent in my friendships and in some of my family relationships, not all of them. And it's been really upsetting for me because it's being the person that always cares more is really difficult. And it's great in some ways because you're always the one to invite people out and to get things happening. But then at the same time, it's who invites me out? I don't is anyone inviting me out? Is anyone reaching out to me? I don't know. So I've been taking a step back from my relationships and initiating in my relationships either communication or hanging out with people, just because I want to see who's actually wants to be in my life because they want to be there, as opposed to who's in my life because I'm the one making things happen. And obviously, I was talking to a friend, and the friend was saying to me, there are spheres of people in your life, like your inner circle, and then there's like circles that like a ripple almost. And right now I'm trying to place, where do these people in my life fall in my circles? There's me, and then there's very immediate family, like my parents, my sister, my super close aunt that I'm really close to. And then the ripple right outside of that's my best friends, like you, and just best friends who I don't need to be concerned that, oh, I love them more than they love me, where it's just not even a question. Like, me initiating with you isn't even a question because I know you give a shit about this relationship as much as I do. And same thing with other super close relationships. It's more just on the outer rings where I'm trying to gauge, like, do I want this person in my life? Do I not want this person in my life? And Paul also said something interesting to me. He said that I have this challenge where, for me, mutual effort is really important. And I find that sometimes it's really skewed where I'm the one giving all the effort and then the other person is not. And this isn't just a case for one person, it's a lot of people. And he's like, people make mutual effort with you, even if it's someone who doesn't align with your values, you allow them to just be in your inner circle because it makes you feel good that they're actually trying with you, versus you're trying really hard with people who don't necessarily want to be in your circle at all. And he's like, you're stuck in these two things as opposed to putting all your energy into the relationships that are mutual effort and who are aligned with your values. He's like, finding that's the magic combination, is like mutual effort and people who align with your values at the same time. So right now I'm feeling challenged in a lot of my social relationships and some family relationships, not all of them, but like a handful of them. I came to the realization, wow, this relationship is really one-sided. Why am I putting so much energy and work into this relationship? So that's where I've been at. We haven't talked about this yet. This is something I would send to you in a voice message. But now we're here talking about it. What do you think?
So it's interesting because I feel like I've, not necessarily recently, but in the last year, I've gone through something fairly similar. Obviously, we've discussed this already, and you know this, my social life has been thriving for the last 2 years since I went through a major change in my life and I decided to change everything and completely take off my social life, and that did happen. But what I noticed after the first year where I was meeting so many different people, my circle was growing enormously. I mean, it sounds ridiculous, but the way I always judged it was that my Instagram followers went up from 600 to 900. But the reason that I use that as a gauge is because the only people that follow me are people that know me, because I've got a private account. And so I met 300 people, whether it would be through traveling, through the Yes Theory, for example. I met all these different people in that time, and that's how I gauge it. But
Okay.
I met a lot of people is the point. But what I came to realize is that a lot of these people, they wouldn't put the effort in with me if I didn't put the effort in. They wouldn't care about me if I just disappeared, if I just stopped talking to them. And if I didn't start instigating social events and inviting people out, then they wouldn't hang out with me.
Right.
So the conclusion that I came to, or the best exercise that I did in the last year, and I've done it a couple of times since, similar to the Wheel of Life, where I think it's an ongoing thing that you need to do, is actually writing down a list of these different circles. So as you say, the first circle is that inner circle, where it's your family. So family is different. And then you've got your inner circle, which is the people that you know that if you put zero effort into that relationship, they would put the effort in. And of course, you still should put the effort in, because it will get to a point where they may not put the effort in. But the point is that feeling is mutual, right?
Right.
So I initially wrote down this list, and out of these 300 Instagram followers, I ended up having maybe 12 people on this list that was my inner circle. And the interesting thing is that I was feeling quite lonely recently. And so I revisited that list. I opened my journal and I went through that list of 12 people. And one by one, I started crossing them out, because I thought, actually, I haven't seen this person in months. And I haven't spoken to this person in months. And they haven't reached out to me either. And actually, I don't really consider them part of my inner circle anymore. So that was an interesting exercise. And I would say now I've really cut down my inner circle in terms of people that I see regularly, talk to regularly, and it feels like the effort is mutual.
Yeah.
I've cut it down to maybe 5 people.
Wow.
And I still hang out with and see a lot of different people because I'm a social butterfly at the moment. But that exercise was really interesting. And I think actually writing it out, and obviously this is something we spoke about earlier as well, just actually physically writing something down is so beneficial. And if there's anyone that you're doubting whether you're questioning it, they're probably on the other side of that circle. They're
Yeah.
not in the inner circle if you're questioning it. Because if you're questioning it, it means that they haven't made the effort before.
Right.
And therefore,
The fact
you
that
know,
I'm
are
questioning
they?
it in general means that they're not in the inner circle. For example, my childhood best friend who I recently had a falling out with, and we reconnected, but that's a whole separate story that, whatever, I'll tell you at a different time, or maybe next week or whatever. That person used to be my inner circle. And now that person is on one of my super outer circles. You know what I mean? And I think it's normal for people to change, but it's a great idea to sit down and write it. So we both have homework this week. So you got to write down what you want in a career, and I got to write down my inner circles and gauge where I'm at with my relationships and who should I really be putting energy and focus into, like on a daily, weekly, monthly basis versus the people I'm reaching out to once a year to invite to a big party or something.
Yeah, exactly. And there are people, if it's my birthday next month and I'm going to have a big party for it, and I will invite those extra people who I didn't necessarily have in my inner circle. I'm not just going to invite 5 people or 12 people, or however big my inner circle is considered at that point.
Yeah.
I'm going to invite all of those extended people who I still consider friends. They are still people that I care about and I enjoy their company, but I'm not going to put that extra effort into them outside of these bigger events because they wouldn't do it for me necessarily. I may be wrong. And of course, it's human nature to be wrong in some instances, to have that wrong judgment. But most of the time, I think your gut is going to be right. And so I think,
Yeah.
having a physical list that you write down. You don't have to write down your outer circle because that could be a lot of people. And as I
Yeah.
said, I'd end up writing out about 288 people.
Yeah. So
So
it's
exactly.
like the people
So
that I'm
yeah,
not sure about.
exactly.
Yeah.
People you're not sure about and you're questioning. But as I said, I think if you're questioning it, there's a reason you're questioning it.
Yeah,
And that's
exactly.
probably because they're not in that inner circle.
Yeah, the people that I don't have to question at all, like my relationship with you, my relationship with, a lot of very close friends, like one of my best friends I've known since I was 5. Like, I don't need to question my relationship with him because I know he's basically family. You're basically family. It is what it is. So, okay, we both have homework for next week. I'm really excited because this is something I've been avoiding, I think. And I think same for you too. I think like we're all over the place and ideas are floating around, but that's what this is we're sitting down and being like, okay, let's get fucking clear about what we want and
Yeah.
get clear about all this.
It's a
So,
form of, I think, emotional procrastination in a way. And the problem is with these things that with my work situation, the longer I leave it, the longer I let it fester, the worse it gets. And it's the same with your social situation. We've been talking about the issues that you've been facing with kind of social aspects and friends for a long time now. And the longer you leave it to actually come up with a resolution or to actually work on these areas of your life, the worse it gets.
yeah. Yeah. I think for me, focusing on the inner outer circles, but then I also need to get clear about what's really important to me in these relationships. Yes, I said mutual effort and shared values, but what does that really mean? That's very vague, but me getting very clear on that, I think is really important. We both have our homework. I'm excited. We'll chat more about it next week. In the meantime, we have a listener who came in and is also wanting to mastermind a little bit about their life as well. So I'm going to play a little recording from our friend Jen, and we're going to chat. We're going to help her mastermind through her life.
Hi, my name is Jen. I am from a town right outside Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, in New Jersey. And I wanted to share a little bit with you guys. So I always believe you should start with the positive of life, like always focus on the positive things first. So I wanted to share the 2 areas of my life that I'm most happiest in right now are my romance, like my love life, and the fun and recreational part of my life. About 3 months ago, I met the most amazing man. He is everything I've hoped for, everything I've prayed for. Like, I couldn't be happier with this man. I manifested different things and I met him. So I'm focusing a lot of time on my relationship right now, improving that with him, spending time with him, and making memories. With that, I'm also focusing a lot on the fun part of my life. Then traveling the world. I went on 3 trips in about 6 weeks. So that was very crazy, but it was the best time. I met amazing people on my trips, a wonderful group of women on my one trip, and I'm just really focusing on having fun and making memories with the people I love most, my friends, my boyfriend, my family. My personal aspect of my life, I couldn't be happier. Now, the area I do need to focus on and get advice on and improve on is my work life. So my career it's draining me right now. It's draining me mentally. It's draining me physically. It's a lot to handle. So I was told some things, and I don't want to say I was lied to, but I was told things and promised things about 6 months ago, and they're just not coming into fruition. It's a very hard thing to grasp because at this point I'm at in my career, it's something I've been wanting for my whole life. I've been working the past 15 years to get towards this goal. And it's a struggle because I feel like the universe has pushed me in this direction. Here it is. Like, I'm literally handing this opportunity to you. Take it. But it's not working out the way I thought it would. And it's hard. It's really hard to struggle with something that I don't want to change careers. I absolutely love what I do. But the place I'm doing it in, I'm not happy. And I'm trying to decide, do I switch places? Do I keep doing what I'm doing and doing that somewhere else? Do I do things on my own? It's hard. And I would love advice from anyone and everyone. If you've been in a similar situation where things were supposed to happen at your job and then they didn't, what did you do? How did you handle it? And how do you really gain the strength to move on?
Wow. Doesn't that sound familiar, Josh, to something that somebody is going through right now?
It does. Yeah, that's very interesting. I mean, first of all, it's great to hear that everything in her personal life is going so well, and
Yeah.
relationship-wise, that's amazing
Yeah.
because obviously that's such an important part of life. But yeah, the career side of things sounds very familiar.
Sounds super familiar. It's really interesting how people go through something similar to you. So, yeah, really amazing that the boyfriend is going great, the friends are going great. That's amazing. And that's such an important part of life. It's not more or less important than your career. It's just a different area. The career thing it's difficult and it's something that you're going through too right now, but I think I'd give her the same advice that I just gave you is sit down and get really clear about what it is that you want in a dream career. I mean, her story's a little different from yours because yours you want to change careers. She wants to stay in the same career, but she doesn't seem to be liking the environment that she's in to do this. So maybe get really clear about in my dream role in a dream job in a dream company or on my own or whatever, what does that look like? Does that look like flexibility with location? What kind of salary does that look like? What does it look like with time off and benefits and all that? Let's sit down and make a list and get really clear about what you want and see, does that align with where I'm at right now? Or if it doesn't align, what steps do I need to take to find this elsewhere? What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I think getting clear is incredibly important because how are you going to get what you want if you don't necessarily even know particularly what you want? And it sounds like she does know to an extent what she wants and what she was expecting before she was told those things. But I think getting clear and actually write it down so that you have a very specific vision as to what you want, and then you can go and find it. And I personally am a big believer in manifestation. You
Mm.
write something down, you get very clear, very specific, the universe will bring it to you.
Oh yeah, big
Um,
time.
but if you don't have that clarity, if you're not so specific, then it's going to be very hard to find it. And it's a fun exercise to do as well, to
Yeah.
write down, what does your dream job look like? What does your dream career look like? It can translate to any area. What does your dream relationship look like? Which it sounds like she might have found. So it's to get specific like that is so important. And as I say, it's a fun exercise in the process.
I think so. And it's once I was in, I don't know if I ever told you this story, but once I was in a really toxic job and it was honestly, I stopped sleeping. It was really bad. Like it was not a good environment for me. And I remember sitting down one morning and being like, okay, if I got a new job and it was my perfect job, what would it be? And I wrote down a list. I wrote down a super detailed list about what I wanted. And I ended up quitting that job without anything lined up previously. And literally on my last day, I got a call and I got a job offer from the current company I'm working for right now. That was everything on that list. Everything. Down to the salary, down to the like remote work situation. I even get to use my French, which is awesome. It's a skill that I learned for such a long time. It's like getting really clear, and not to say it's going to fall in your lap. It gives your subconscious a guide about what to look for. And it also gives your conscious a guide of what to look for in your career too. So I get really clear about what you want in this new role. Jen, get clear about what you want. And I think the right thing's going to come to you because you're going to know what to look for and you're going to know what's right for you. And you've already had practice doing this in your relationship and in your friends. I think it's time to switch that to your career as well. And you seem like you're on the right path. It's just a matter of putting yourself in a situation that's healthy for you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I completely agree with that. I think there's not much else to add. I think getting clear, having a vision, and having fun in the process as well, enjoying it and getting excited about it, and the rest will come.
Half of the shit of this podcast is like, yes, things are hard, but like, how can we have fun in the process of creating our dream life and masterminding our dream life together? Let's have fun in the process. Let's enjoy the journey, because it's not just about getting the thing, because you get the thing and then, okay, what happens now? The whole part of the fun in the process is learning and the journey of it all. So let's have as much fun as possible while we're creating our dream lives. This was such a fun first episode. I really enjoyed. Oh my God, I love it. It's so good because we can sit and talk about the things we haven't gotten a chance to talk about.
Yeah, in more detail than a voice message.
Big time. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you want us to mastermind something in your life, please send us a voice recording of what's happening, and we will sit down and chat about it with you. And we'll see you guys next week on the Mastermind Moments podcast. Bye.
Bye.
We hope you enjoyed this episode.
Don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, and follow along on social media.
If you would like us to help you mastermind something in your life, please send us a message.
We'll see you next week on the Mastermind Moments podcast.